It's been a long journey, but we're ready to turn on our server, which has our service profile attached to it, which we've now modified to use iSCSI boot. We're going to hope that it reaches across the network properly and achieves an iSCSI boot. By the end of this nugget, we're going to have a clear picture of what an iSCSI boot looks like, as well as some key indicators that it's working as desired. So now we've created the iSCSI vNICs, and we just assigned the boot parameters to those iSCSI vNICs. Now with this, we should be good to go. So UCS, you keep wanting us to reload this server. We are finally ready. We go to pending activities, and we find the service profile. By the way, the reason it wants to reload is because we've acknowledged and said, yes, this is going to require a reboot, but because our maintenance policy says user acknowledgement, this is what we have to go through rather than immediately rebooting. Otherwise, it would have automatically reloaded several times by now. So it's another nice reason to have user acknowledgement. So we can pick our blade. We want to make sure it's the right service profile, demo 1. Make sure it's the right blade. Don't want to reload the wrong one. Blade 4, that is good. Check reboot now and say OK. And with that, our service profile is rebooting. We go back to general to watch the status. In fact, we can technically scroll over to the FSM tab to watch the status. And we'll fast forward this as well through the magic of video. And it's complete. So we can scroll back to the general tab. We should see that it is indeed in a powered off state. Because it was powered off before we did the reboot, it returned it to that. So the configuration is done, but now we can power it up. So let's flip back over to the KVM session that we still have active. Go to the server actions and say boot server. We'll say OK, and OK again. So now as this comes up, we should be able to watch as the iSCSI vNICs perform their boot across the network. In other words, remember those 4 connections. We're going to see those 4 connections be referenced in the boot up process. And here we go. This is the part where iSCSI boot is going to reach out, and we see the first vNIC hit both of the Tegile connections. So now we just got to pause and wait and hope that the second vNIC hits both connections. We have successfully established all 4 iSCSI connections on boot across the network. Now, because we didn't actually mount any virtual media, we are going to come to a point where it says, and here we go, reboot and select the proper boot device. So now we are ready to install iSCSI to the iSCSI LUNs. Now the way we do that is we go to server actions and we'll just shut down this server again. We don't need to gracefully shut it down. There is no operating system running. So we say OK. We come up here, just as we did with SD boot. We go to the virtual media, activate virtual devices. Now we can click it again. Whoops, we have to wait a little bit longer. There we go. So CD, DVD, we'll attach that. We'll choose our file, and we'll pick the ISO for VMware, say map drive. So we will once again extreme fast forward this to make sure that we don't have to sit here and watch anything unnecessary. But what we're going to watch is, again, those 4 connections be reestablished by the iSCSI boot process. And then once it's established fully connected to the iSCSI network, ESXi will load and we'll be able to install it, targeting the Tegile LUNs that are across the network. So now we see we've come to the installation screen for VMware. We hit enter and accept the user agreement. As it scans for devices, it should find our Tegile LUNs across the network. So let's see here. And it did. Locally, we have SD cards, which is what we used to boot previously. But now we have the Tegile LUN as well accessible to us across the network. We can hit enter to continue. And from here, we just install ESXi as normal. So there we have it. We have successfully created an iSCSI boot configuration for the service profile. Now, when we first boot the service profile, if we're watching on the KVM, we'll see those 2 iSCSI vNICs come online and form a successful connection, if indeed it can create a successful connection, across the network to our iSCSI storage array. Now, once we've done that, we can attach the virtual media to the KVM session and finish installing our hypervisor from there. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.